Nebraska, it's the Average Joe Sports Show. This is the place for Husker sports with the biggest names, the best interviews, and all the inside scoops.
I got a front row seat with a big tub of buttered popcorn and a greasy half-live chicken leg.
Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Welcome to it. Friday edition is here at the Average Joe Sports Show. Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody, and you. Speaking of Rhody, Elijah is on one for a Friday wedding. It is the summer of weddings, not his own, for one Elijah Herbal. He'll be back for the weekend edition tomorrow, 7:45-ish. You can watch on YouTube, the Average Joe Sports Show channel, where you like and subscribe. Sunday live at 10:30. So we are back at it 7 days a week. And always hear us on the Average Joe Sports Show network. Find on Twitter as well, AJ Sports Radio. And can dial us up at 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. Was driving into the studio a couple of hours ago, and maybe they were making their cross-country trek, but saw this metallic blue Dodge Ram pickup, good-looking vehicle, and in it were two dudes, bearded fellas, and they had Go Beavs on the back of the pickup window. They had the Oregon State flag all whipping in the wind, and the license plate was from Oregon. So maybe they are making their trek through. We'll get to your phone calls here in a little bit. I got an email. You want to share some thoughts that way, do so. And can always email the AJ Sports Show, 2 S's, at gmail.com. Whoever's trying to get in early, we'll put you on hold and we'll get to you. You got some drama right now. Coastal Carolina clinging to a 7-4 lead over Arizona with no out, a runner on second. And it looks like heart of the order up for the Wildcats. But we'll dive in. We'll talk with Brian Christopherson here, Husker 24/7 Sports. Monster recruiting weekend again for Nebraska football and Matt Rule. We'll get there in about 15 minutes. Pride of Fairbury checking in from SEC country. Bill Doleman joins us as we'll say hi to Bill here at 5:05. We are back to get the inside info on the CWS. Former Oregon State head baseball man, 3-time national champ, Pat Casey, going to join us. And before we're all said and done, he's imaginary. He wears red. Clausburn going to join us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. Starting 5 shout-outs coming here in the stream where you like and subscribe. Average Joe Sports Show channel. Justice, you got any plans? 2 questions. 1, are you heading up for any games this weekend at the CWS? 2, who are you adopting? Who are you going to adopt for the College World Series? Nebraska not in it. Little Nebraska extension with the man who built greatness in Dave Van Horn with Arkansas. We're pretty partial to Pat Casey ourselves here on the Average Joe Sports Show. And you've got the Cinderella in Murray State. You've got a proven little guy, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, but Coastal's a team who's won it. They're just kind of a juggernaut that defy the odds. Then you got some big dogs in it. So have you made a choice yet? Heart or head, or are you just going to roll the dice?
So I like the way Coastal plays baseball. I think it's appealing. They got great arms. They throw it well. I like Oregon State. They got a great pitching staff. They got
power.
They got some fun guys. They got a guy who I would love to be a St. Louis Cardinal, and Ivar Arquette, their shortstop, who is going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. The guy's absolutely incredible. So they're fun to watch. And I think Mitch Canham did a great job just kind of taking the baton from Pat Casey and continuing to run that program to levels of excellence that, still haven't been seen in the state of Oregon. I think it's incredible what Oregon State's done. Would love to see maybe UCLA get one, from the Big Ten, little Big Ten representation.
Dude, can you claim them already?
I think you can. They're part of the conference.
I know.
I mean, maybe it would force the conference to take baseball more seriously if they won one.
Sure. I will believe that when I see it. I think the Big Ten's quite happy with all right, you West Coast schools in Nebraska and Michigan, we're going to pat you on the head. You do your thing with investment. Otherwise, tell us what it's field hockey season and lacrosse time.
Right. They don't seem super invested in that, but that's another way you could go. But I think for me, I've kind of hitched onto the Coastal wagon.
Okay.
Would it be nice to see Dave Van Horn win one? Sure, but there's nothing better than the chance, baby. I mean, you got to love the way that Kevin Schnall's just kind of taken over first year after, Gary Gilmore retired at the end of last season. So I think what the Chants are doing right now, they are in a dogfight with Arizona.
7-4, unless another run came across. We'll keep you updated there. Let's get our starting five shout-outs. We'll dive into some quarterback discussion because it's been pretty prevalent this week with Nebraska and how Dylan stacks up against the schedule. Josh Pate also diving in for just what he thinks about the quarterback play in the Big Ten. 489-1240 to get in. But Uncle Larry is in, says, let's go. CWS is here. Arlo is in. Already an entertaining CWS. Of course, you got Oregon State tonight. Justin is here. Justin, thanks for hanging out. Duck is in. The other Dave says, thank God we live in the greatest country on earth. Totally agree there, Dave. Cliff in Florida. Cliff, good to have you. Cliff adopting Dave Van Horn this year. Totally understand that. Duck says LSU's probably my favorite in Omaha. 3-putt is here. I will be doing that aplenty tomorrow, depending on how fast the greens are. Bruce from Spearfish checking in. Not that Rocco, but our Rocco coming on in here on the Average Joe Sports Show. He is back after not a ban, but just some time away. Your mama is in, and he has some summer grill thoughts for us. Hamburgers, hot dogs, baked beans, old-fashioned potato salad, beers, iced tea for these opening College World Series games today. So your mama ready to rock and roll. Matthew is in and says OSU to give them some hope after being left for dead. And then, I want to get back. Oh, and don't forget the jalapeno cheddar brats. Your mama wants me to make sure we hit on. That sounds like a spread. My old buddy Nate, he used to go in with a bunch of people, and maybe you have this neighbor, maybe you have this friend, or maybe it's you, and you see all sorts of Husker automobiles souped up and ready to tailgate, especially under the viaduct.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where, there's 100 Husker ambulances if you're not privy to the Bambulance skit that once upon a time aired on radio. But you have the Husker ambulances, you have the Husker vans that are out, some of the Sprinter vans that are all big redded up. Those are really cool. But my buddy Nate, they went in on an RV, and this is during the Rosenblatt era, so they would park, and year after year they'd park in somebody's parking spot, i.e. driveway or just side yard in some of those old homes around Rosenblatt, and they'd just cook out. They'd converse. A lot of times it was kind of an offshoot LSU tailgate, but they'd have the baked beans, they'd have the grills going. They'd had the Fairbury brand hot dogs fired up. And then once upon a time, some jambalaya had stumbled by from an LSU fan that was just all sorts of tasty. And knowing my buddy Nate, the beer was always cold. And there was a plenty. Who's with us here, Justice, to get things kicked off?
Oh, we got Steve from Lincoln wanted to ask you a quick question.
All right, Steve, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chris. How are you doing?
We're good, man. Thanks for the time.
All right, here we go. It's going to be a quick question. It's a little out in the future, but I'm sure that many people in Husker Nation want to know your prediction. Here it is. Cincinnati, Nebraska football. Into the fourth quarter. What's the final score, Chris?
I think that one needs to be about a 31-17 Nebraska win.
That sounds like a true winner. Thank you for your early prediction. And as always, you guys do an excellent job. Thank you.
Steve, appreciate you, bud. Steve's going to the to the casino, and Steve's gonna lay the 6.5. It sounds like. Steve, if that doesn't happen, don't be mad at me. As I analyze here in mid-June, it needs to be 31-17. Fair enough.
Just cast the net out there right away.
Cover and a little beyond. Look like the dominant team. Easier said than done, but hey, away we go. You have Brian Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty, checking in. Alex Gordon being inducted into the Royals Hall of Fame tonight. That's incredible. My brother grew up playing ball with Alex. Alex, a great dude and incredible career. Made so many Lincolnites and Nebraskans proud, especially 20 years ago.
Darn good ball player.
Yeah, getting the Huskers to the CWS with Jabba and company. Let's hit up a little bit of the quarterback discussion to ease in, Justice. And so we've heard from Searles. We've all kind of covered and followed Nebraska and watched NFL or college football. And the reality is, what level of quarterback do you have, and what's your approach at quarterback? Everybody wants a dude.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has a dude, and not everybody is patient enough to watch a guy become a dude. I just think of Atlanta as I was starting to watch the Brett Favre Netflix deal, where Atlanta said, we're going to get rid of this guy because he doesn't study film. And Favre goes as a second-round pick to Green Bay in year 2. And after a Don Majkowski injury, the rest is history, at least on field with Brett Favre. So there's so many different elements with quarterback. It comes down to confidence. It comes down to, are you a quick blinker, to coin a phrase? And, what is your mentality? Are you a gunslinger? Are you confident? Are you gun shy? What do you have beyond the measurables? What do you have beyond the arm talent or the escapability or the ability to be, a professor out there with plenty of arm talent in like a Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning was rarely in a bad play. His recognition skill off the charts. So how many times do you anticipate Nebraska having either an even matchup at quarterback or an advantage at quarterback? Because that's really what it comes down to. Do you have an advantage at quarterback to help facilitate and make plays with his arm to the wideout, or get into a run play, check into a run play, and get the offense going with the ground game and some audibles, some different checks? And can you make the play? Can you make the throw, or not make the mistake when it is crunch time? And just kind of going down the list of quarterbacks Nebraska is set to face, a sneaky, really good quarterback that Nebraska is going to see is out of the gate, to Steve's question, in Cincinnati. Sorsby, 18-7 touchdown to interception ratio, shy of 500 yards. He's a guy that can give you a bit of a headache with his legs on those third down, and he just needs to extend the play and move the chains, kind of like Altmaier in that aspect. You've got Drew Aller, that's top of the board for many, Justice. Nico, Underwood, Maeva, Gronowski at Iowa, Childs at Michigan State, Bosmer. I think the guy to look for is Darius Taylor at Minnesota. And then you've got Preston Stone, the SMU transfer from Northwestern. I haven't gotten the whole schedule because, unfortunately, I left Akron and Houston Christian off the list here. Those are 2 wins I'm giving Dylan Raiola. But overall, Nebraska should be pretty even. It shouldn't just be down to what Dylan does. But when push comes to shove in some of these coin flip type ball games, it's going to be about what Dylan does.
Right. And when you look at how Nebraska is going to have to find success, it's kind of like Cyril said, sometimes there's going to be 3 or 4 times in a game where you're going to have to go to your quarterback and say, hey, I'm going to need the rabbit out of the hat. I'm going to need that ace in the back pocket that you can pull out, lay it on the table, make a special throw. When you look at Nebraska in previous years, you could argue that they played a lot of quarterbacks that have outgunned them. that have incredible arm talent, but they've also got it between the ears, right? It's not just about what do you have for your physical makeup. Where's your mental makeup in terms of how you're going to command an offense, your pre-snap recognition, and how you have complete control of the tempo and the reads in an offense? And when you look at what Dylan Raiola in year 2 is supposedly going to make, there's the argument that he could make that sophomore slump and that he could, find a way to regress in year 2. But I think most people look on the optimistic side and say, hey, we believe with a Dana Holgorsen offense, with multiple passing concepts, you brought in some weapons, we believe that when you look at Dylan Raiola, he's going to make that year 2 jump. So now you look at the schedule and you say, okay, Childs is pretty good. Drew Aller's pretty good. Nico's coming in with a lot of pedigree. Jaden Mayava at USC is a pretty darn good quarterback.
Already beat you.
And don't forget, Brendan Sorsby's got a little bit of that headache to him. You're going to have to, maybe take some Tamiflu to get rid of that guy. But I think when you look at this, Nebraska is going to be at least even or more in at least 10 of these games. If you give them the 2 free spaces and 8 more, I think you look at it and say, hey, even or better, you trust Dylan Raiola to be even or better in 10 of those games.
I think the fact that the guy played like he did as a true freshman, and Matt Rule talked about this earlier in the week on the Rome show. How did you handle adversity? That might be the biggest part of this discussion point. Dylan's already kind of faced the fire a bit. Didn't always go well. We know that. But he kept swinging. And you learn from some of those failures. Can you grow and be better from it that second time around? Brian Christopherson's next. Average Joe Sports Show rolls forward.
These are today's top headlines.
Israel launches attacks on Iran's nuclear sites, and Iran retaliates with drones into Israel. President Trump warns Iran to sign a nuclear deal or attacks will continue. Fears of oil prices spiking from the attacks and markets falling.
Don't miss a thing. Stay connected for whatever's next.
News that affects you. On air and on demand, 24/7. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR.
Most of you have heard me, Schmitty, talk about my experience with Lincoln weight loss. If you have not, let me start from the beginning. I, like so many, was struggling with a bit of stubborn extra weight. I had tried just about everything to shed it and was frustrated with no results. Then I was introduced to Lincoln weight loss. The program reset my metabolism, and I dropped the extra weight fast. I had so much more energy and was motivated to enjoy a healthier eating plan. I've been following the Lincoln weight loss plan for about 1.5 years now, and it's changed my life. I highly encourage you to take that first step and check out Lincoln Weight Loss and get your free body composition analysis. From there, you'll start to see results and get on the right track for success. Then you can get back to enjoying plenty of summer fun. With Lincoln Weight Loss, there's no injections, no prepackaged meals, or calorie counting. Schedule your free consultation today at LincolnWeightLoss.com or call 402-520-8170.
Make hauling easy with the MWC Park Can Easy Dump. This satellite dumper goes where big garbage trucks can't and can haul everything from trash to yard waste to recycling. The fully automatic Easy Dump fits in the back of a standard pickup truck, so there's no need for a CDL license. Perfect for alleys, gated communities, condos, parks, anywhere. Come see the Easy Dump yourself at MWC Can in Lincoln or go to MWC-can.com today.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
I plan to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
When you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating over 16 million subscriptions sold.
We're back with more. It's the Average Joe Sports Show with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back in Friday edition of the Average Joe Sports Show. Cliff has chimed in with his College World Series delicacies. He is going with some Wilbur smoked brats tonight. Wilbur, that sounds pretty good. Brian Christopherson, what is on the grill tonight, dude? How are you?
I got nothing on the grill. I got Friday Night Lights planned, which probably means I'll, I don't know, get our cheese runs on my way into the stadium or something.
That's okay. That sounds pretty tasty. I mean, runs always taste better at the stadium, man. And you and the crew with Husker247 Sports going to be all over the recruiting weekend, and you've seen a lot of these. Let's kind of get some names you're watching. Nebraska's got another wave of 2026 kids coming in.
Yeah, they do. They have 6 official visitors that we know about. I think one of the big visitors this weekend that's expected is Valensone, out of Sweden. Terry Braden actually went out there to visit the family, and I think made a really strong impression. But anybody who's sort of followed his recruitment knows that, his handlers, those around him, call him the big ticket. He's very impressive for his size as a lineman. Last night he was at Ohio State and he was camping there, and they gave him an offer. And so he's got a who's who list of programs to choose from. But I do think the Huskers have, have a coaching staff that has appealed to his family. And now this weekend is another chance to try to, push the ball forward on that one. But it's an interesting collection of guys like Darian Jones from Omaha North, brother of Donovan's in town. And obviously you've got the family connection where you feel good about it, but you still have to, show a young guy like how he fits into your plans, and he's got to make his own decision. Jacob Eberhardt's another really interesting name. Athlete, can kind of do it all out of the St. Louis area. And I know we all kind of get on our tippy toes and fired up about anybody from St. Louis and kind of building that idea of Nebraska recruiting the area. So whenever there's somebody from that region, there's kind of some excitement. And then, Jamal Rule's an interesting back out of Charlotte, North Carolina, running back. And for those, I know Schaefer wrote this today, but, for those who are kind of disappointed the Huskers didn't get Shamar Brown during the portal season, maybe there's kind of a similar build here in how he's made. And so he's got an interesting makeup for that position that could be a nice compliment for what they've got going. So there's some interesting guys. And then, of course, the whole Friday Night Lights thing, you've got guys for the future. And this is following up after a weekend, last week that honestly, when you combine the 7-on-7 event and then the Huddle Future Forum event that was going on with all these 27 and 28 prospects, I think it was the most talent that's ever been, on Nebraska's campus at the same time. So they've had a good start to the June, no question.
I want to go back to Sode for a moment. BC, the talented defensive tackle that's playing his high school ball in Blue Ridge High School in Virginia. With Braden making the in-home, I mean, how many other schools have done that to your knowledge?
There might have been one other one, and I'm not sure who it was, but it was very limited that did that, and that has to be a factor. And that it just goes to show a family, like this is how much we care about, your family member, your son. That they always say like win the moms, right? Win the moms and you win the recruit. I mean, that's the phrase as old as college football has been around, and so. It's a big deal. And Terry Braden, I think, we're still learning about him, but the one thing we figured out right off the bat when he came up at the podium and kind of smacked it down and was, you'd ask a question, he'd be like, hey, Chris, like he'd respond right to you. Like he's got that energy that I think is kind of contagious. And so now we get a chance to see how that impacts recruits and whether that can help close a deal. Obviously, it goes beyond Coach Braden, and Matt Rule is going to have a big say on this one. But the fact that they have put in the extra legwork, I think, at least has put them in that kind of top group where you got a fighting shot against all the elite programs in the country.
Brian Christopherson with us, Huskers247. BC, I wanted to ask you, you were at the Battle of the Boneyard last weekend. You've kind of gotten, a little bit here now to collect your thoughts. What's your takeaway? What are you hearing from some of the, the attendees at the camp, from some of the official visitors that Nebraska had on campus, not only for the Battle of the Boneyard, but for the Huddle Futures Forum as well? What are you hearing out of that? And do you have any beat on where four-star offensive lineman Hayden Ainsworth might be heading?
First off, it feels good on Ainsworth. I mean, the fact that he shut his recruitment down right after his visit to Nebraska, and the way the family, I think they were on the plane all wearing their Husker gear. And so, if you're reading the tea leaves, you kind of feel like that's going to be a good announcement for Nebraska on Monday. They had a good weekend with the O-linemen, there's no doubt. As far as just the whole event and how it went off, I think they pulled it off. And it was, I said last week, you have to appreciate the boldness and being the first to the table with something, because there are going to be a lot of copycats now, and there's going to be other programs that want to do their own 7v7 showcase and try to steal this idea. But you have your foot in the door now, and you have teams like the Raw team from Miami that is very good, and that's where Trey Taylor, that was who he played with, and Ahmad Hudson. And I know those guys immediately after the event, put it on social media, we'll be back, when you do this again next year. And so if you become that program where you can do this and back it up in 2026, maybe it just becomes the annual place that those 7v7 teams go, and maybe it even grows from here. And they'll probably tweak it a little bit. Maybe you change a day or something that it runs to get more people there. But all in all, it went really well. And then there was just an added juice that came with the fact that we saw Trey Taylor actually throw. I mean, there's not that many times you get to watch a Husker QB commit in an actual sort of a competition. How is he responding in person and in the very stadium he's going to be playing in? And the fact that he's throwing touchdowns to Ahmad Hudson, who I think is one of the best recruits in that entire class. And Ahmad Hudson is just looking like a man amongst boys in Memorial Stadium, and they're building that chemistry. That is the type of peer recruiting that is worth 500 posts on Twitter, right? I mean, that in itself, it gets you a long way. So it was a very useful weekend. And then there's guys like Mark Matthews, who's a 4 or 5-star offensive tackle, and Trey's close with him, and he was here. They just got some guys into town that you normally wouldn't be able to get at this point. In part because of the 7-on-7, in part because of the huddle event. It really worked together well.
Well, and this was year one. It was well executed. It was well received. It'll continue to get buzz, the word of mouth. I mean, it is, it quite honestly is a showcase. You can't put a number on from a promotional standpoint, and it can pull some of those players that you want to help get you not over the top only, but sustained success with, higher level talent, and continued to higher level talent to come in on the recruiting trail to be developed. BC, other programs are going to try and duplicate this, but duplicate and replicate. It's one thing to try and do a 7-on-7 like Nebraska did it, but, you're going to tweak it for the better, presumably. If you're Nebraska and Matt Rule, you won't be able to replicate what Nebraska's done. They got a head start on this with not only the huddle aspect of it, but also the Adidas connection. And I think this could be a major ace for Nebraska moving forward for years to come.
Yeah, you know what the other big deal is, and it's cliche to us already by now, every recruit and people who follow Husker football closely, they see the recruits say, oh, the facilities, man. And so it's one of those things that just goes over your head at this point, because you're like, okay, I see that in every story. I get it. They have really cool facilities and all that. But we had a couple of our national guys come in for the event, Tom Loy and Andrew Ivins. And sometimes you need that fresh set of eyes on something to remind you, this really is a huge advantage in this era where I think some programs across the country are putting their money in other spots, right? It wasn't the time necessarily to build up your facilities and upgrade. Nebraska did it at a time when some are kind of okay, we're fine with what we got for now. Let's just lay low a little bit. And so Nebraska might have caught the right window to have a facilities edge, I think, for, at least 5 or 7 years before the next wave comes. And it legitimately knocks people's socks off. And so I was kind of reminded that hey, yes, we hear that all the time, but don't disregard it. It's such a big deal when those kids walk inside there and they see how that setup is. And it's man, if this is where I'm going to spend 15 or 16 hours of my day, when it's football season, I want to be comfortable and I want to have some nice digs, and it matters to those guys. And so I think that's something I would just add. I know it's a tired topic to some people, but it's an important topic for Nebraska to capitalize on.
Well, not everybody's going to put money into a facility or will be able to your point, because you got to pick where you got to spend the piggy bank. You're going to spend it on NIL, or you're going to spend it on facilities. And now Nebraska can focus on NIL and different advantages because they've got the building handled. BC, real quick, we're talking Big Ten quarterbacks, and at a glance, do you anticipate for Nebraska to have, or should they have, the quarterback advantage when you get into this upcoming schedule? Is Nebraska's quarterback play going to be a plus on the ledger? Should it be more times than not when you look at the other quarterbacks that are on the other side of the schedule?
I mean, I think so. I'm buying the off-season, talk around Dylan and around here, but I also like the fact that nationally, I don't know that he's getting the benefit of the doubt. It's really interesting. Some other quarterbacks, Arch Manning and Lagway at Florida, they actually played a lot fewer snaps than Dylan did last year. And it's sort of just expected that they're going to increase their games from some people outside our bubble. And sometimes it feels like with Raiola, it's I don't know. I have these questions about him where others are allowed to not have those same questions circle around their head. But I think that's good. I think it's kind of nice for Dylan. You have, maybe that's a little fuel, you put in your tank going into this next season. And I think he's, the Holgerson factor is why I feel good about it. I just think Dana's going to put him in spots that are high percentage type plays in big moments. And you can go back to the bowl game. There's a 4th and 3 against Boston College in that game, kind of an ugly game, we'll all agree, but Nebraska needs that touchdown to kind of put distance on it. And he finds a simple little play where BC's kind of confused, and Emmett Johnson just a little pass in the flat. It's a touchdown. Those are such a weight off a quarterback's shoulders when you can get an OC who is on the, just as a one step ahead of the defense and gives you that type of throw to make in that type of moment. And then maybe when you have to make a tougher throw, you're feeling a little more confident because you already banked a touchdown on a big 3rd or 4th down. So I think when I hear the talk or whatever analysis there is about quarterback play, I'm who's their OC? Who's calling the plays and what's that combination look like? And that's why I'm buying stock in Raiola this year. Not because he's got a good skill set, but I think he's just going to be enhanced by the guy who is in his ear too.
BC, have a good weekend. Always love the insight. Thank you much, bud.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Seems like the whole process can be exhausting. You search resumes, wait for the right candidates to apply, set up initial interviews. It's a lot of time and work. Well, what if you could meet with qualified candidates for your job the very next day? Now you can with Zip Intro from ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro is super easy to use. You simply pick a time, and it does all the work of finding and scheduling qualified candidates for you. Then you can choose who you want to talk to and meet with great people on back-to-back video calls as soon as the next day. Best of all, you save time and energy.
Try Zip Intro for free right now at this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Zip Intro. Post jobs today, talk to qualified candidates tomorrow. Once again, go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
In Nebraska, we take care of one another. But proposed cuts in the House reconciliation bill would have a dire impact on hardworking Nebraska communities. The bill would shift part of the federal responsibility for SNAP to the states, which are already facing strapped budgets. This would cost Nebraska roughly $49 million. These changes would hurt local grocery stores and growers and affect our most vulnerable populations. We urge you to contact Senator Fisher today to oppose these cuts and stand with Nebraskans. Paid for by Nebraska's food banks.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
KFOR is now available in high-definition stereo.
This is the good stuff.
Listen in your HD radio-equipped vehicle at FM 106. We're back with more. It's the Average Joe Sports Show with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Good stuff from Brian Christopherson. Catch his coverage Friday Night Lights, Husker247 Sports. What a get re-caught up with the segment posted, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and just rewind the YouTube channel here on the Average Joe Sports Show or on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio, Chris Schmidt, Justice Rhody. Find us on Twitter as well at Schmidt_radio at Justice Rhody, and posted this a little bit earlier from Arlo and the American Legion post. Burgers for Baseball shindig gets going at 5, and just a heads up, if you're in Lincoln and you want some burgers or the Little Sluggers special, that's at the West A VFW Hall. And what it is intended to do, it's the no pay to play, keeping baseball accessible for folks. So just as you grew up playing baseball, I grew up playing baseball, and it was just an incredible time, despite probably some different skill sets at some different ages for some of us in the room. I had more the David Wells kind of stature, or the John Kruk.
I got you.
Right? The John Kruk, David Wells type baby fat going on. So that's how I dealt with it. And it was awesome though. But think about that here at the American Legion and the Burgers for Baseball 5 to 8 tonight at the West A location, 33 West A in Lincoln, the VFW Hall, and family fun plus a 50-50 raffle here. So Game Dog, check it in with the topic of quarterbacks and Dylan, how he stacks up against quarterbacks that he will face this season. And, I think Game Dog will probably come up with a different nickname for Dylan once he sees the body remake. But I'll read on. It says Dylan should have a clear advantage over the Iowa quarterback, whoever the hell that is. You have USC's Maeva. Game Dog says that guy's a scrub. And he says Nico definitely has an edge. So does Aller. And I think, as we kind of move forward with this topic, I don't know that you have an advantage on Swordsby. And I say that because of what he did a season ago. I know he was 5-7, but his numbers were dynamite. He wasn't the problem.
No.
And part of this is what are the other 21 like for you on the squad? How good's your defense? Do you have to win a shootout every Saturday?
Big 12?
Right? Or do you have competent defense that'll get some stops for you? Mm-hmm. And do you have an offense that has plenty of options? If Nebraska's run game is what it needs to be, that makes him all the more dangerous. I think Underwood's a talent, but I would feel better if I'm Underwood playing quarterback under Harbaugh than I would Sharon. I think Maeva's super talented, and if this is the guy that Lincoln Riley goes with, I think he's pretty good on top of all the skill talent SC has. SC's problems have been the lines of scrimmage and their defense, both sides of the football. The thing about Nico, and I look at QB1 Ace's comment here about Nico's overrated. I think Nico's a talent, but I think Nico's a case too, Justice, where that guy had so much around him and on the other side of the football. I mean, there's some throws and some plays that I thought Nico could have, should have, would have made. All that being said, the guy did go to a playoff last year. He was the man behind center doing that. Gronowski at Iowa, we'll see. Childs, to me, is probably an amazing talent on a team that is going to be punching above its weight class too many times on Saturday. The numbers, if we're just going to get into it, Childs' numbers against your top four in the Big Ten were really good last year. He performed well. And then there's Aller. Aller can beat about everybody except the team he needs to beat, right? In the big game against either a Michigan or Ohio State. Bosmer, Fleck always finds a quarterback that can complete a pass to a tight end, but ultimately their success will be pinned and hinged on what Darius Taylor and the running game do. I think Northwestern's in trouble. I give Nebraska the advantage, and it goes back to what BC said. The offensive coordinator calling plays that they're good at and having plays ready to go that will work, like that rail route that BC alluded to on 3rd and short. It was a simple throw. It was a total mismatch. We had a linebacker trying to catch Emmett Johnson.
And it wasn't going to work out for him. And, that ultimately, when you look at the development of Dylan Raiola in year 2, you could look at it and just say, hey, he's going to get that much farther because he's going to have a full year of Dana Holgorsen, right? And no shade to Marcus Satterfield, but when you look at the offense from, the last couple of games of Dana Holgorsen to Marcus Satterfield, it was night and day. It really was in terms of the production, the innovative offensive concepts.
Well, it's confidence. You've got a confident play caller.
Right, and the freedom for Dylan to just make the easy, simple reads, right? And I think when you look at how they're going to stack up in the Big Ten, you could say the same thing about how are they going to match up with other schools? How are they going to match up against Penn State and Andy Kotelnicki, who is a really innovative play caller for the lack of personnel, frankly, Penn State had last year. And you look at Drew Aller and say, hey, I need to see you close games. I need to see you be the closer. Come in and make a special throw and shut it down. He didn't do that against Notre Dame, and they lost. He just had a simple job to do, and he couldn't even do that. So what do you like about him? What do you like about Nico? How does he fit in a new system with less talent around him than Tennessee? I'll just put that out there. Mayava, how does he look in year 2 under Lincoln Riley with a full season at his slate? I mean, there's a lot of question marks. I like Aiden Childs, like you're saying, under Jonathan Smith. I think Jonathan Smith's an innovative play caller.
He's a good coach.
And he's got a lot of stuff behind him. I buy into the Underwood talent. I just don't know how far it's going to carry him in year 1 because he does have to process at the collegiate level. And then Sorsby is a complete puzzle. You don't know what you're going to get with the guy come week 1. Has he made a jump? Does Scott Satterfield, does he have enough bags, tricks in the bag to allow him to really realize his full potential in that Cincinnati offense? There's a lot of question marks in the schedule. And I know when you look at Dylan Raiola and say, okay, if the baseline outcome happens, you can look at him being at least even or better with 10 or more quarterbacks on the schedule.
Well, and stop me if you've heard this before as a Nebraska fan, but it's a hell of a difference playing from behind versus playing with the lead. And too many times over too many years, Nebraska had to work their butt off just to get even in a ball game because of a turnover, a bust defensively, 3 and out on offense, and you got behind the 8 ball. Game Dog says Maeva is a turnover machine. USC's quarterback, the only game he was above 55% was against Tony White's defense. Game Dog, that's kind of what I go off of with Maeva. I mean, they've kicked quarterbacks to the curb at SC, and Lincoln Riley likes Maeva, and he made plays against Nebraska, made some incredible throws in the off-schedule stuff. So you have Game Dog also touching on Nico and Aller, combined for 13 interceptions last year. You had a number of interceptions, too many for Dylan. That's got to change for sure. Take care of the football, absolutely. Now, Kobe with a solid point on Iowa's quarterback. Gronowski and Snitley boys said that, yeah, the guy is the best quarterback Iowa's had in a while, but the guy's won 2 national championships. But
hard to do.
Shouldn't sneeze at. We'll wind down this first hour here on the Average Joe Sports Show.
Family-owned heating and air business. Dave's Heating and Air is Lincoln's professionals you can trust. Whether you need service, repairs, or a new system, Dave's is here for you. Dave's wants your home to feel comfortable and cozy. Get the peace of mind guarantee and call Dave's for your HVAC needs. Call me today at 402-480-3004 and talk with a professional. Dave's Heating and Air. Doing whatever it takes.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
Da Vinci's is celebrating 47 years of serving Lincoln families and friends with original Italian flair, including pizzas, pastas, and more. To celebrate, they're offering half price on any large pizza, dine-in or carry out, or buy one, get one half off large pizzas when you have them delivered. Celebrate 47 years of pizza with 47 days of great pizza deals at Da Vinci's.
And on sale now at KFORnow.com, you can purchase a $50 Da Vinci's gift card for just $25 while supplies last.
The basketball playoffs are wrapping up, but the action is still heating up on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. The app is simple to use. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app today, use the code ROAM, and get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. That's code ROAM on Prize Picks to get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you get the $50 bonus credit just for playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game. You do have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Progressive knows if you have to choose between everyday life and your boat, boat wins.
What are you going to do? Take the boat out for a spin or go mail something? Boat wins! Are we cleaning the patio or taking the boat out fishing? Boat wins! Are we skipping that eye exam to go sailing? Boat wins!
Rescheduling eye exams can be a nightmare.
All right, fine. Eye exam, then boat. Yeah!
With Progressive, you can bundle your boat with your home or auto and save with a discount and spend more time enjoying those savings on your boat. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states and situations.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
We're back with more. It's the Average Joe Sports Show with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back with you one final time this Friday edition for hour one anyway of the Average Joe Sports Show. More your comments comment in on the stream. Like and subscribe to YouTube with the Average Joe Sports Show, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the audio version, the podcast, and then follow on Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. That's Justice Rhody, Chris Schmidt. Elijah is in a wedding. There was some dilemma with what his outfit would be. He's an usher, and he was and we're on in Columbus where the wedding is, so he's excited about being at the wedding, don't get us wrong, but he's probably a little freaked out about the coat, you know, and he didn't want to go quite, you know, Miami Vice Don Johnson cream look.
I know what you're talking about,
right? The too light of the wedding suit. So and he was quite fearful of having to button it. Now, I think as an usher, you should be able to, or have to, like, as you're walking people down the aisle as an usher, your coat's got to be buttoned, don't you think?
You gotta at least have one button, right? You maybe don't go the full two.
You never go two.
Never.
No, but you have one button. Now there could be a little fear of, does that button shoot somebody in the head? Right? We've all been there where the old suit coat's a little too tight. He was going to send us a tweet of a fat guy in a little coat. I'm not calling him fat, his words, as he will go whack-a-mole on me at 6'4". So Interested to question Elijah's experience tomorrow morning on the weekend edition of the Average Joe Sports Show at 7:45-ish. So check that ish. We'll make that happen. Cranack will be on assignment with his honeymoon. He's down in, I think, Puerto Vallarta. Vallarta is the way to say it. He's down in Mexico, and then we should have Cranack back the following week, allegedly, hopefully. So we'll get Billy D in there. Elijah will be back at it. I'll be there. The Iron Horse will join us for a quick hit with all his College World Series coverage, and then Brandon Vogel going to join us. So busy hour 2 as Bill Doleman, the Pride of Fairbury, will check in with us, and we'll talk to him in about 10 minutes. And then Pat Casey will sit down with the national champion head coach of Oregon State baseball, really built that program, get his take on the field and what it takes to build a winner in baseball. Tuck is in. I'm late today, but I figured Elijah got the call for eligibility and is hitting the weight room. He's doing the summer workouts. Did we look up how many more views his huddle tape?
I can get on that right now.
All right. What did we start with yesterday?
I believe we started with 132.
132, 132 views for Elijah on his huddle tape, circa 2017 at Lincoln Southeast. And Justice is typing away. We posted it in the stream.
Oh, we're up to 168.
Okay, so we
boosted it by about 36.
Number. That's a solid number.
36 is pretty good.
Kobe thinks that Nebraska finally offered Elijah
post-career
to play on the offensive line. A super senior in one Elijah Herbal. That's pretty good. So we'll see how sunburnt Bill Doleman is from his day at the beach yesterday. We'll have to ask him if he was on site when that Alabama fan almost got into it with Coach O. Coach O was walking up. He says, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He said, "Roll Tide," and Coach O almost put him into the ocean. Hour 2's next.
If your watch has stopped running and you think the battery is dead, where do you take it? The mall? The drugstore? The big discount store? I'm Dave Wolf. If your watch needs a battery, bring it to the Time Shop. You can park right at the door and we'll change your watch battery while you wait. It's quick and easy. On your way in just a minute or two. If other repairs are needed, we'll give you a free estimate of repair on the spot. We've been repairing watches in Lincoln since 1970. The Time Shop, next to McDonald's, 6450 O Street, Lincoln.
In Nebraska, we take care of one another. But proposed cuts in the House reconciliation bill would have a dire impact on hardworking Nebraska communities. The bill would shift part of the federal responsibility for SNAP to the states, which are already facing strapped budgets. This would cost Nebraska roughly $49 million. These changes would hurt local grocery stores and growers and affect our most vulnerable populations. We urge you to contact Senator Fisher today to oppose these cuts and stand with Nebraskans. Paid for by Nebraska's food banks.
Lincoln, it's time to ride. Trail Trek, presented by Capital Dental, has a new start and finish at Lincoln East High School. That means after your ride, you'll enjoy entertainment and lunch in a cool cafeteria. We ride Sunday, June 22nd, with 6 unique routes for every age and skill level. Whether you're a seasoned cyclist or just out for a fun ride, there's a route for you. All riders are entered to win one of 3 bikes, one of which is an e-bike. Your ride supports local trails. Register online at gptn.org. Sponsored by Alpha Media.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wine. Guys in the know and prices so low. It just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love. And love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery.
Lincoln's local news, talk, sports, and weather station. FM 101.5, 1240 AM, KFOR, and KFRX HD3, Lincoln.
From ABC
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Iran vowing further retaliation after launching dozens of ballistic missiles toward Israel today. It followed Israel's strikes overnight inside Iran, killing top military leaders and scientists and also targeting nuclear facilities. The U.S. says it assisted Israel in intercepting missiles. ABC's Martha Raddatz says it appears some missiles hit.
We saw a lot of smoke on the ground in Tel Aviv after one of those interceptions. It looked like one of those either interceptors or one of the missiles themselves. That smoke right there, where that landed and caused that smoke, I'm sure is of some concern right now.
Israel's emergency services say at least 41 people were injured. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says there is more to come. Security has been heightened for tomorrow's celebrations marking the Army's 250th anniversary. It also coincides with President Trump's 79th birthday. Army officials say the grand military parade will happen rain or shine. Rallies against the military parade also set to take place across the country. Ongoing protests over immigration raids continuing in Los Angeles for another weekend. Local and state officials are pre-deploying resources, they say, ahead of protests tomorrow and also ramping up for tonight's demonstrations. L.A. Police Chief Jim McDonnell.
If you come to Los Angeles to exercise your rights peacefully, we are here to protect that. But if you come to our city with the intent to commit crimes, damage property, or harm others, including our officers, you will be arrested.
California Highway Patrol once again blocking off streets and an overnight curfew remains in place. National Guard members and Marines deployed by President Trump also in place protecting federal buildings. In Massachusetts, the jury in the Karen Reed murder trial ended deliberations for the weekend. The jury began weighing in the evidence earlier today. Reed is charged with hitting her boyfriend and Boston police officer John O'Keefe with her SUV and leaving him to die. You're listening to ABC News.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
An early morning shooting in a southwest Lincoln neighborhood. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News. 2 teens were shot during an incident about 5:30 this morning east of 11th and Hill Streets. Lincoln Police Assistant Chief Jason Stilley says officers arrived and found a 14-year-old on the ground with at least 2 gunshot wounds.
It appeared that he has sustained a bullet strike to the buttocks and a calf. Officers ended up treating the victim, and ultimately he was transported by ambulance to an area hospital.
The 14-year-old's injuries are considered not life-threatening. Meanwhile, a 15-year-old arrived at the hospital where he was taken there by a private vehicle for life-threatening wounds to the upper torso. At least 5 shell casings were found at the scene. 2 weapons have been recovered. Read more at KFORnow.com. Meanwhile, Lincoln police arrested a 31-year-old man suspected of trying to entice a minor after he sent a message to who he thought was a 15-year-old girl on social media, but it was an LPD investigator working undercover. Police say Michael Whitler of Lincoln planned to meet who he thought was the teen on Thursday at a local business, but investigators met him instead, and he was arrested for child enticement by electronic communication device. State Senator George Dungan is running for re-election next year to represent District 26 in the Nebraska legislature that covers most of Northeast Lincoln. The lawyer has served 3 years and tells KFOR News, looking ahead to the next session, lawmakers will try to restructure the system in providing actual property tax relief.
But it was just putting a Band-Aid on a problem that exists instead of trying to restructure our system to actually provide real property tax relief.
Meanwhile, earlier today, attorney and former Lincoln State Senator Patty Penzing-Brooks announced that she's running for the District 28 seat that covers central parts of Lincoln. And on Thursday, KFOR was proud to be part of the Jerry Joyce Living Legacy Awards luncheon. 3 people were honored as unsung heroes for volunteering in Lincoln. Tom Mills was presented the Jerry Joyce Living Legacy Award, while Keenan Kane received the Humble Servant Award. And the first ever Kathy Blythe Caring Heart Award was awarded to Audrey Watson. Read more about the winners at KFORnow.com. Tonight, mostly clear, low of 60, a slight chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow, otherwise sunny and a high of 94. I'm Jeff Moats, KFOR News.
Da Vinci's is celebrating 47 years of serving Lincoln families and friends with original Italian flair, including pizzas, pastas, and more. To celebrate, they're offering half price on any large pizza, dine-in or carry out, or buy one, get one half off large pizzas when you have them delivered. Celebrate 47 years of pizza with 47 days of great pizza deals at Da Vinci's.
And on sale now at KFORnow.com, you can purchase a $50 Da Vinci's gift card for just $25 while supplies last.
Hey, Julie.
Husker fans, the 2025 football season is right around the corner, and we need your support in the Sea of Red at Memorial Stadium this fall. You can now purchase a football 3-game mini plan for only $185. This plan includes tickets to Michigan or USC, plus Akron or Houston Christian, and either Michigan State, Northwestern, or Iowa. Tickets are only available while supplies last.
Live from Lincoln and broadcasting across the state of Nebraska, it's the Average Joe Sports Show. This is the place for Husker sports with the biggest names, the best interviews, and all the inside scoops.
I got a front row seat with a big tub of buttered popcorn and a greasy half-live chicken leg.
Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back with you, it's hour 2 of the Average Joe Sports Show, Friday edition. Chris Schmidt and Justice Rhody, Elijah. Okay, so Bill Doleman right now on the stream with the Average Joe Sports Show YouTube channel, holding up a picture of where Bill was yesterday. That was at the beach with Shagalicious, his wonderful pup. Game Dog and Kobe are still wondering when we get that Clausburn Doleman sit down. I was gone last week. Claus is coming up here around 5:45 after our chat with Pat Casey of Oregon State, who's back in Omaha, former baseball man for the Beavs. So, Bill, we got to get this thing booked into the summertime. You and Claus squaring off, kind of like Frost and Nixon back in the day.
Well, we had it scheduled last week, but then you had other plans, so we had to postpone the big what do you call that meeting? But anyway,
the big sit down.
Yeah.
So I'm asking this, and this has continued to get posted on social media, where you had a random Alabama fan roll up on Ed Orgeron, Coach O, and his home away from home with that LSU buyout, Destin. And he's walking along the palm trees, shirt off, of course, as you have Coach O known to jog all times a day with that heavy humidity without his shirt on. And he's just kind of grumbling around saying, "Go Tigers, go Tigers, go to the bank, Tigers."
Yeah, exactly.
And he's happy. The best sit down ever was Ed Orgeron telling the story of when he got fired by the athletic director and the university president. Said, "Ed, it just ain't going to work. We need to make a change." He's like, "I totally understand." But he's like, "Ed, we're going to give you, $18.7 million to leave. You have any questions, Ed?" And Ed's like, 2. What time you want me gone and what door you want me to use?
What door you want me out of, brother?
But this Bama fan walked up, got a smiling Ed Orgeron, and I thought he was going to ask him to say, "Go Tigers," but the Bama fan said, "Roll Tide." And then Ed kind of cornered him and said, "Well, let's talk respect here. I wouldn't do that. People wouldn't do that to Nick Saban." And then the Bama fan's like, "Well, LSU fans still might." Were you in that? Were you just off camera is what I'm questioning, Bill. Did you see that interaction, or were you at a different beach?
Did not see that. We were in Gulf Breeze today, which is not far from Destin. Big Gulf Breeze fan on Pensacola Beach. Didn't see the Blue Angels. That was kind of a bummer, but we're in the neighborhood, certainly. Yeah. And if we were going to stay longer, maybe we would wander down to Destin and go hang out with Coach O and see if he wouldn't buy a round of drinks.
Well, here's a question. Can we get the weekend edition on your end from Destin one of these weekends with a surprise visit from a real Coach O, not a fake Snoop Dogg?
That would be, he would be the kind of guy who would be perfect for the Average Joe Sports Show weekend edition, much like Mark Spindler was great, Great guest. We don't get the ones that everybody else wants. We go get who we want, who's going to fit in with us. And I think Coach O would be a great fit for the Average Joe Sports Show.
Okay. Well, we can maybe work on that. And I've been told by Mama that I have no more trips this summer. So there's that. So it's up to you, bro. It's up to Bill Doleman to make it happen. The Pride of Fairbury, the professor at Bill Doleman on Twitter. You can see if you're watching the show under Bill's name, your business name can go right there and be a part of the Average Joe Sports Show. Bill, I wanted to get into this. It's a monster recruiting weekend for Nebraska. I know that you pay attention to that. You're also realistic about what recruiting is and what this new world of college football is as well. And Nebraska seems to have all facets planned out pretty well. Brian Christopherson brought this up to us, and I wanted to get your take from a strategic standpoint. You've been a part of athletic departments and front offices where timing is so important when you complete a project, when you start a project, because there's a list of things to get done for the big picture. And just the reality of, in today's era of college football, where Nebraska can solely focus on June being a recruiting month, can do a Huddle and Adidas combo, and then follow that up with a plethora of high value targets for 2026 this weekend, and then go close the deal with some more kids next weekend. It's all well planned out by Matt Rule, but the administration, the brain trust per se, Bill, got that building done before the shot clock went off, and you accelerated into this era of college football where you got to figure out what pot to pick money out of and where to divert it to.
Look, I think Nebraska's got, with what they did this last weekend or 2 weekends ago now, and the build up to it. Don't forget the build up, because you had to put the invitation out there to get Cam Newton and his team and all those other 7-on-7 teams to get the players to come to Nebraska. This wasn't on a whim. Like, spring ball's done. We didn't have a game, so what should we do? Right? So all the build up to pull off what they did last weekend took a lot of time, and it had to entice people to get the players to agree to make the trip to come to Lincoln to take a look. Not that people are fighting to avoid Lincoln, but there was a lot of build up to pull off what they did. Okay. I think, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I think that the 7-on-7 event put Nebraska maybe at best 3 years ahead of everybody else, but maybe 2, because you're going to have the Ohio States who had 7-on-7 camps, right? A lot of these schools are still having the traditional summer camps. They're not having the innovative recruiting targeted camps like Nebraska had with corporate input and corporate investment in it, right? So I think Nebraska's got a jump on 20, certainly 26, 27, maybe 28. And then you're going to see what other schools are going to try to do to copycat what Nebraska has done. So what Nebraska has to do now is think, okay, what are we going to do for the 2030s that's going to be unique? Well, by then, maybe you've got the new facility, the new stadium built. That's a possibility. And what are the parameters of recruiting going to be like in the new era of college football? But what Nebraska did was lay down a foundation for everybody else to build on, but they're still going to be the first one that did it the way that they did it. Nebraska will probably get dividends from this for the 26 class, which apparently they are, the 27 class, which includes Trey Taylor, and probably 28. So that's, it's all positive what Nebraska has done in terms of innovating off-season recruiting and making college football even more year-round than it already was. I mean, people are going to start talking about the 7-on-7 camp probably during what was spring football. Who are you going to be bringing in the next couple of months once the academic calendar is over with and it's off-season and players are going wherever it is that they want to go? So it's just like OTAs and training camp in the NFL. 7-on-7 camp, and Nebraska's the first one to open the doors to that.
Bill, it turns into, for lack of a better comparison, passive income, doesn't it? If you get the cherry on top with a breakthrough season. You mentioned that head start you got with this recruiting showcase, with this corporate partnership with Adidas, with Huddle, with Nebraska getting kids on campus that are kids that are going to the Penn States, the Ohio States, the Texases, the Floridas, the Oregons, the SCs. They're getting that skill level here, despite one of these things is not like the other when it comes to where they're playing on New Year's Day. That can change for Nebraska. They want it to change this year. Maybe it changes in 2 years. But when we talk about rolling downhill in a good way, the importance of this season, and everyone understands it. I mean, you solidify all this work you've put in the offseason with a winning season.
Oh, no question about it. If Nebraska has all this goodwill from, remember, things weren't all that positive when there was no spring game, right? And then other schools followed suit. But again, Nebraska was the first one to say, we're not going to have a spring game. And then Ohio State, and then a few others followed suit. But all of that has seemed to have been really dissipated over the last couple of months because of the innovation Nebraska has done with its recruiting. But if August 28th rolls around, or whatever the date is, is it the 28th to play Cincinnati?
28th, yeah.
You lay an egg in that game? I mean, that's really bad, right? I mean, and you got to come back.
Go the other way, though. Go the other way, though. If they start
go the other way, where you've got the national stage and they're talking about it, and you look good in a pro stadium. I mean, that Cincinnati game is really, really important for a lot of reasons. But yeah, to capitalize on the investment you put in the offseason to get your brand out there, and now you've got a returning quarterback, and you've got Dana Holgerson, and you've got the new defensive coordinator, all these things, and now it's the year 3 season of Matt Rule. This is the time. So that game against Cincinnati is vitally important for a lot of reasons. Even if Nebraska comes back and you beat Akron, you beat Houston Christian, then it's all on Michigan, right? I mean, that's how important Cincinnati is.
It still might be all on. I mean, that's
True.
What's so fun and fascinating with the Cincinnati opportunity, that national stage, the intrigue with quarterback and defense. I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be quite a bit of uncertainty with, are they as good as they're supposed to be? Do they kind of live up? Do they create their own hype? Because you've had lack of hype this year compared to last year. But then you have that Michigan opportunity, which is just juicy. Then you have Minnesota. Then you have, hell, man, you got SC, you got Iowa, you got Penn State. I mean, it's going to be a fun year. There's been years you've seen and been a part of where there's been the bump in anticipation. There's been the excitement. There's also been the hold your breath, wait and see years too, with different regimes, and even some in the Osborne era. How good are they going to be? What's their ceiling? Do they achieve what they're supposed to achieve? All those questions are going to ramp up, and we'll get into late July for media days. But no, I'm excited. That 2018 was an intriguing year with Adrian and Scott, and that was a little bit of a letdown with the way things started versus the way the season finished, which gave you optimism for 19. 19 was a total bleep balloon. and you've had too many of those, cue up the Price is Right sound effect. I mean, that's just what it is.
But let's face it, this has been, Nebraska has come from behind, I think, to win another offseason national championship like no other program in the history of college football. Stumbling a little bit with no spring game, but others followed suit. And now you've got this 7-on-7. You've got the Trey Taylor. You've got all of these players who are enamored with Nebraska, looking forward to coming back again next year. So Nebraska has once again reclaimed its offseason national championship status. I think that's 64 in a row. So you beat Cincinnati, and then it's here we go, year 3, Matt Rule, following form, and then you've got Akron and Houston Christian. Okay, but Michigan is a big question mark. Sharon Moore, for whatever it's worth, isn't going to be coaching that game. It is going to be at home. It is a winnable game over Michigan as long as you don't play the helmet. If you get enamored by the helmet, you might get beat. But that's a winnable game for Nebraska at home. But if you lose to Cincinnati, it's just like what I watched on the Ocho last weekend. The slippery stairs World Championships from 2023.
What are you talking about?
It was right after the Wiffle Ball National Championships, before the Pillow Fight World Championships from 2022. The Slippery Steps Championships. If you lose to Cincinnati, the whole season is uphill in mud.
Yeah, it's fair.
Because it's always going to be here instead of here we go, and everybody's excited. It's going to here we go again, and Nebraska cannot hear we go again. Yeah, you look great in the offseason, and you got a nice fancy building. You look good coming off the bus. But if you don't beat Cincinnati, it's here we go again. And Nebraska cannot afford that. Even a win over Michigan would be, but it's Michigan's down. If you're 3-0 and you beat Michigan, it is here we go. Year 3, Matt Rule. Dylan Raiola is who we expected him to be. He's not getting a lot of run right now because I think the shininess is off the penny with Raiola. He's been talked about for so long that he's no longer the flavor of the day. So Raiola really should not have a ton of pressure on him nationally. It should be the pressure that he has on him to be the leader of this particular Nebraska football team. But everybody else is talking about all these other quarterbacks. Raiola should not be feeling a ton of pressure other than what Husker Nation is going to put on him.
Which is plenty, but you're right. It's a little different having to have that giant backpack of the national media zero in on you.
But he's been talked about for so long, right? And now he's not, which is fun, which is great for him. Great for him. He should just enjoy his sophomore season.
Get the suntan lotion out. We'll be ready to do part 2 tomorrow morning. All right.
Very good. Go Tigers.
There he is, Bill Doleman. Pat Casey on the way.
I planned to rearrange my closet, but I stopped after picking the clothes up off the floor.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's award-winning language learning app will help you start speaking another language. Start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
Comment tu t'appelles? Comment tu t'appelles? Vous êtes où?
Vous êtes où?
Babbel's bite-sized lessons make it easy to learn words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel est amusant et facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue. Et cela ne prend que 15 minutes par jour.
When you want to really learn another language, it starts with Babbel. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating over 16 million subscriptions sold. Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
In Nebraska, we take care of one another. But proposed cuts in the House reconciliation bill would have a dire impact on hardworking Nebraska communities. The bill would shift part of the federal responsibility for SNAP to the states, which are already facing strapped budgets. This would cost Nebraska roughly $49 million. These changes would hurt local grocery stores and growers and affect our most vulnerable populations. We urge you to contact Senator Fisher today to oppose these cuts and stand with Nebraskans. Paid for by Nebraska's food banks.
Find what you love what you find. A total wine and more. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wine. Guys in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Men,
Are you sick of the gut? No matter what you do, you still have that gut. Limitless Mail wants you to know that GLP-1s can make that gut disappear. Lose 15% of your body weight in 6 months without being hungry. And Limitless Mail will guide you from start to finish. Limitless Mail customizes a treatment plan with the original GLP-1s. No knockoffs. Do you have back pain? One more reason to get rid of the gut. Schedule your free consult at limitlessmail.com.
In Nebraska, we show up when friends need help. We check in on our neighbors. That's why it's important to know the warning signs of suicide. If you have a friend or neighbor who's withdrawn, stressed, agitated, or talks about suicide, find out how you can help. Call, text, or chat 988 for 24/7 support. You have the power to save a life. Paid for by the University of Nebraska Public Policy Center. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
KFOR.
Nebraska.
We're back with more. It's the Average Joe Sports Show with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Back into it on the Average Joe.
I was just giving you my intro.
No, I love it. There we go. That is Pat Casey with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. As greatest show on dirt, it's CWS time, Oregon State back in the hunt for another natty. And Coach, it's always awesome to check in with you. And I think back to that first title, that first time we had a chance to sit down together, and you've been so awesome over the years, saying what's up to the great listeners. And man, you got to be smiling here. You're back in Omaha.
Yeah, it's great. And it's different, boy. It's strange walking around and not thinking about getting on that bus and playing, in the Doug. So it'll be a new experience for me. But, every guy on that staff that's coaching, from the director of ops to the head coach, played at Oregon State. And so I think that's really cool. I kind of think it speaks to our culture. And, when this all started, like you said, way back when we were just a good story, showing up. And like we talked about before, it's kind of fun. Nebraska was in that at 05 too. And, nobody really thought we were coming back. Nobody really thought that we were anything other than a bunch of good players who got together and had a good year, and we'll see in another 50 years. And so I'm really proud of the sustainability of the program. I'm really proud of the kids they've been able to bring in. They got great kids and real talent too. Amazing talent.
Pat Casey with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show as we talk College World Series. Coach, you mentioned a word that's talked about. We talk a ton of Nebraska football, as you'd imagined, and Matt Rule's a big culture guy. He is renowned for it. You said the word culture, and kind of walk me back with your vision here. When you say culture, kind of describe that. I think we know what the word culture means, but what does it mean to you for a baseball program that wants to compete at a championship level? What are those elements of culture?
Well, I'll tell you, when you first started, it's kind of like you're speaking a foreign language to them, because what you're really talking about is creating an identity of how we want to be represent ourselves, how we want to be seen, how we want to practice, how we want to act, how we want to walk, how we want to talk, how we win, what we do, and in everything that we do that's surrounded around the baseball program is embedded in that culture or that idea or that identity. And it has to be authentic. It has to be real. It has to be who you are. It can't be, there's obviously going to be a different identity and culture in Kentucky basketball than there is in, somewhere else where they're just trying to get to that level. And so, we felt like, we had to start with the people in the building, not the building itself. We had to start with those guys that were actually going to wear the uniform, coaches that were going to wear the uniform, and how we were going to do it and how we were going to do it together. And that's really how it started. And, there was a lot of bumps and bruises on the way. There was a lot of times and temptations to, go a different direction and get off the path, but we never did. We just decided if we believe in it, because nobody's going to exist beyond your own belief system. You just cannot succeed beyond what you believe you can do. And We believed we could do some things that other people didn't. Those things that seemed extraordinary to ordinary people were ordinary to us. We thought winning was something that we could, should, and can do, and do it on a regular basis.
Pat Casey's with us here talking college baseball culture, Oregon State, CWS, the field of 2025. 75 years, Omaha celebrating, hosting the College World Series. What was your frustration level compared to your patience with this build, with what you wanted to do? Obviously, you got the payoff 3 times over, and there's a lot of satisfaction. But there were the hurdles. Did they seem too high at times as you built this?
Yeah, and they should. You know, if the expectation doesn't take you down a notch, or if the dream you have doesn't take you to your knees at night to pray for help for the work it's going to take to do it, then the dream ain't big enough. You know, what is worthy to have as a dream that you can, or a vision, or something that you can accomplish easily. That's what society wants right now. They want us to have goals that are easy to accomplish so we don't ever become who we can become. And so, yeah, there were many times we thought that we were, you know, when we first got in the South, you know, those schools were pretty much looking at us, Stanford and SC and UCLA and Arizona, all these schools were looking at us like, you guys don't know what you're getting into. And there were days that we felt that way. But, you know, somebody had to be the guy that was going to say, we're not going to bow down to those temptations of fear. Somebody had to say that I'm going to lead you through here and I'm going to do it authentically. And man, you make a lot of mistakes. If you don't make mistakes, then you're not getting on the edge. And when you get on the edge gets a little further out all the time. And pretty soon, nobody's shocked that Oregon State's in the World Series right now. You know, that's what's cool. Nobody's shocked. They even look at it at the beginning of the year and they go, hey, here's 10 teams that could go to the College World Series, and Oregon State's one of those 10 almost every year. And I think that has a direct relationship, how those kids think, how they practice, what they believe when they walk in the door. You're not trying to convince them, hey, we can get to Omaha. Hey, we can be a national contender. They are when they walk in the first day of practice. And that is culture. And culture is not, you know, the color of your uniform or, you know, how great your stadium is. Culture is actually the guys that get in the uniform and play in the arena. That's culture.
Pat Casey with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. Talk to me about how you went about recruiting not only the talent, but the mentality, because you got to have a certain fit, don't you, to get in that uniform, a fit you want in that uniform?
Absolutely. And I think there is some leeway when the guy's 6'5", left-handed going 96 down the hill, you know.
There's a lot of good leeway.
yeah, we can work on that mentality when you get here, you know. But I can't tell you how many times that I recruited guys, I could even tell you their names, and they very kindly said, hey, coach, geez, you know, I got 5 visits and, you know, I'm going to Stanford and Arizona State and Texas and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I can't tell you how many guys said that. And so, you know, that player, we had a philosophy that we had to shrink the game, meaning that we had to pitch and defend, and that would be what we'd hang our hat on, because we couldn't coach if it's 8-1, but if it's 3-2 or 2-1, or, you know, you can manage, you can coach, you can do the things you work on. So we focused on a certain player of how he fit in what we want to do physically. We focused on a certain player, how he fit in what we want to do mentally. And you cannot be naive enough to think that you're going to take a donkey to the Kentucky Derby and win. So we realized that we needed to start getting some thoroughbreds, and pretty quickly, the guy, either that horse that was finishing 9th or 10th was 6th or 7th. And, you know, at the end, we were knocking down some big names. And so, but, you know, winning is people want you to believe that winning is something that should be expected if you do everything right. And if you don't win, it's okay. But as long as you give us your best effort, and all those things are true. If you're 10 years old and you give your best effort and you don't win, that is acceptable. But when you're 11 and you're told the same thing as you were told when you're 10, and when you're 12, you're told the same thing as when you're 9, and when you're 15, pretty soon you get pretty accustomed to being okay with just mediocrity. That is mostly, in my opinion, the biggest problem we have in society. The expectation level of what we can achieve is not based upon what we can actually achieve, but where society sees us fitting into their norm of be average. That's a really good thing, because if you're average, you're in with the rest of the guys. It's easier to control. People don't want people asking questions. They don't want winners. They don't want people knocking the door down. So I think winning is something that you take with you. You that culture is ingrained in you, in how you're a husband, how you're a businessman, how you're a fireman, how you're a first responder, how you're a baker or a butcher or a barber. It doesn't matter, and I just believe that. I do. And I believe that you see kids at Oregon State walk in the door, look at the locker that they're inheriting from someone who left it, and know what culture looks like.
Pat Casey with his coach. A thought on Oregon State, 103 home runs, second to only to what Arkansas was able to crank out of the yard. What do you think of this field? Obviously, I know who you like and who you're cheering for, but you got LSU, Arkansas tomorrow night. UCLA's here. Could you have a Pac-12 revival? Is what I'm asking here, because you got three squads that used to be there, and overall, I mean, how wide open is this 75th edition of the College World Series? What do you think?
Well, when it's looked at from the outside, I'm sure that follow college baseball would look at the teams that are in it and say, hey, you've got Oregon State, LSU, and Arkansas as three powerhouses that should dominate this field. I mean, that's just how people should look at it. And they look at that because of the roster and who's on it and so forth. But, there's a reason that some of those teams got here. There's a reason that Murray State got here, which, by the way, I don't know if there's ever been a College World Series where there's more stories that could be written about teams that shouldn't have got here. Coastal Carolina, UCLA. I personally can tell you a lot about how UCLA gets here, and I can tell you how Arkansas and LSU and Oregon State, but those other schools, Arizona and those schools that went through and had, Arizona had an average season and just played phenomenal at the end, and they did the same thing last year. So it is wide open. I do believe that Oregon State will or should emerge from our bracket. I do. I don't be surprised if UCLA doesn't beat somebody, depending on how the ballpark plays. They're going to pitch. Mm-hmm. They're going to pitch. That I can tell you. And they're going to get you out. So everybody that gets here is playing well. They won their regional and their super regional. So everybody's playing well. So nobody can say, hey, Arkansas is really playing good. Yeah, of course they are. And so is LSU. I think it's a very good thing for the field that they have to play each other 1 and 2. That's one of the reasons they've always considered reseeding after the supers, to kind of give teams that have done well all year the right to be seated in an order of which they wouldn't be playing one another. But that's the way it is, and it's good for the field.
Pat Casey with his former head coach, 3-time Natty with Oregon State. We'll do a little overtime with Pat Casey, this time out of the bathroom.
Ray, voice of the Lincoln Salt Dogs. Catch Salt Dogs baseball all season long on KFOR FM 101.5, 1240 AM, and online at KFORnow.com.
It's that feel, get that energy from it, and just imagine it in your house. I need that.
You've got your very own handyman to help remodel your home.
You see the whole package out on the big showroom floor. Handyman has everything you need. We've been looking at all the different options for sinks, for different faucets. They have every style, every finish that you could imagine. I had no idea that there were that many. That's why I love that they have the waterworks already in some areas set up where you can take a look at it, see how they work. It's amazing. My husband was the first one that was monkeying with the faucets. My grandson, he's in there test driving all the products. He's like, watch, Grandma. You just basically pull it out of the faucet, push the button, and it's like a sprayer.
This June, save $30 on all kitchen sinks. See them at floor level. Test real water flow and feel the difference.
For the very best in bathrooms, come to Handyman under the arch on Sun Valley Boulevard, Lincoln.
Handyman. Caregiving is more than just a job. It's my calling. As an LPN at Legacy Retirement Communities, I get to make a real lasting difference in the lives of others every single day. It's not about providing care. It's about creating meaningful connections, offering support, and being there when people need it the most. At Legacy Retirement Communities, we truly understand the heart and soul behind caregiving. Here, I'm not just an employee. I am part of a family and a team that values my skills, supports my growth, and respects my purpose. We work together to ensure every resident feels heard, loved, and cared for. If caregiving is your calling too, Legacy Retirement Communities is the place where you'll find the support and opportunities you need to grow and thrive. Join us at Legacy Retirement Communities. Apply today at careers.legacyretirement.com or call 402-417-7292. Legacy Retirement Communities. Your calling, our commitment.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Hey, it's Philip and Justice Rhody from the Morning Hookup. Coming up on a Monday on the Morning Hookup, we'll welcome back Evan Bland from the Omaha World Herald. We'll also recap the NBA Finals.
We're back with more. It's the Average Joe Sports Show with Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbal.
Couple more minutes, some overtime with former Oregon State head coach Pat Casey with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show, laying out the field here for the CWS.
I'm not going to count anybody out that's found a way to get here. Coastal Carolina has obviously played fantastic baseball. Murray State's the story of the tournament as far as somebody shouldn't be here. Oregon State, LSU, and Arkansas are the three that are giants in college baseball. But, don't sleep on any of those teams. Don't sleep on any of those teams, And like I said, if the ballpark plays small, that's not an advantage for the teams that are here like Coastal Carolina, UCLA, Murray State, because, these teams in Arkansas and LSU and Murray State have real power. If the ballpark plays a little bigger, you're going to see teams like UCLA have an advantage, and teams that do the play small ball would be something that John would do. I don't know how. I haven't watched Arizona much. I know he's done a great job, but should be a great field. Always is. I mean, Omaha makes it what it is. It's just amazing about what they do, how they do it, and how they consistently do it. So it's pretty impressive.
Hall of Fame coach Pat Casey, three-time national champ with Oregon State, back in Omaha, supporting Oregon State. So Dave Van Horn, we talked a couple weeks ago about DVH and really enjoyed covering him early in my career when he was in Lincoln, and then, went off to Arkansas. And does he ride off into the sunset and go out on top if it happens for Arkansas?
I don't know. I think that in today, the way the things, it's a young man's game in the coaching field right now. If the way the transfer portal is, and you got to go out and hustle money, you got to go out and hustle players. I don't know how he views that. He's one of the best in the game. He's certainly a national championship coach. He's certainly run a national championship program. I've got all the respect in the world for DVH and what he does and how he does it and how long he's done it. For me, it was just that, I was at a point where the day fall ball was supposed to start, I didn't feel like I had the energy to do it at the level that I needed to do it and the players expected to do it. And I couldn't commit to that because it wasn't fair to them.
Sure.
And I was a head coach for 31 years. Could I have done it longer? Yeah. Could I do it now? If they altered some of the things and they put some type of parameters on the thing, I feel it, energized as I've ever felt. And, but just to have open-ended, you want to give a guy $5 million, give him $5 million. And you can see that some of the programs that didn't work so well for this year, that had high payrolls and were expected to do well. I think that there's a camaraderie piece that Dave probably doesn't like, having different guys in the locker room every year that, you're not developing a player if he shows up for a year and he's gone. You're just not, It's that guy that was there for 3 years, found his way in as a senior year. Those are walk-on that are great stories. Those are things that I would imagine he struggles with, but he's a national championship coach, regardless of whether they've ever won a natty or not.
Coach, I got to ask you before we say goodbye, and it is awesome to say hey to Pat Casey, three-time national champ with Oregon State, back with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. Coach, what do you like to go do in Omaha? You've been here so many times. When you get to town, any spots you hit, any superstitious spots, or is it just kind of day-to-day here?
Well, what's funny is when I've never been here other than just coaching.
Right.
So all you want to do when you're coaching, you're hiding, man. You're in your suite, you're watching film, and you're sneaking down and have a cold beer once in a while. But you're really not out. You're just, you're here for one reason. And so, it's kind of fun. I'm going to find some spots. When we came here the first time, we stayed at the Embassy Suites. We had little children. We took them across the street to Old Town. They loved the candy store. We ate at the spaghetti factory, whatever they call it. That was the first place our team ever ate together. So it's always been on my mind. I've been out to a couple steakhouses that are pretty good. But for me in coaching, it was coaching. It was the hotel, it was the yard, and it was a little bit of Old Town. And other than that, I need to discover some places. So I ran into my old teammate, Mark Gillespie, one year. Him and his wife, we had dinner together, and that was great. Got a buddy that I've known for a while, used to come out, Tim Cavanaugh. So, there are some people that I know, but I really, wasn't a big socialite. I was on the bus you get 4.5 hour rain delays here. You got time. Gee, crying my steaks. Well done. I can't even do that. So, but I have, we've walked over to, I think it's Bullfrogs. I've had a beer in there before. I've been to Upstream and had a nice glass of wine in there. And, I just, whatever, man. I just was into the baseball piece totally, man. Now, my wife and my family, they had a great time, great memories, and we're going to have some great memories this year. So I appreciate the question, but I guess I'm going to have a better answer for you the next time we talk.
That's fine. We'll have to do that again. Coach, you have a great experience in Omaha. Always appreciate your time.
Right on, man. Good talking to you.
Pat Casey with this little extended sit down with Coach Casey. We transitioned to the imaginary, infamous Clausburn here for a shorter segment, then maybe some time on the other side. Claus, I've missed you. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us here for another forecast. How are you?
Well, I'm doing all right, and welcome back from your trip. Where was it you went? Was it France?
No, San Francisco for the Cranack wedding, Claus.
Kind of the same thing, if you know what I'm talking about.
We had a great time with the wedding party, the fake Snoop Dogg sighting, and got back on Monday. Are you geared up here into the CWS? Do you have a pick tonight here between Louisville and Oregon State?
Well, Christopher, I know that at least up until last weekend, you were a big fan of the Beavers, but I think Louisville has a pretty good shot at it. I think it'll be a good game. Ultimately, I think it'll be probably similar to the first game today, really close, and someone pulls away at the end. And I think in a twist of fate, the Beavers will actually be the ones to pull it out this time.
Clausburn with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. Claus, a thought on UCLA and of course, the Cinderella, Murray State?
Well, everyone keeps saying that this is the Racers' first time in Omaha, but I seem to remember old legs, Timmy Legler, winning the Racers a championship in 1993. So if they can channel that, they may have a good chance. And then again, UCLA, the home of Jackie Robinson. So as long as Trump isn't watching the game, it may be good for them as well.
Wow. Claus, we are up against it. Can I hold you over? I know you're a big Dave Van Horn fan. And for a mere $250, you too can get into the night session for Arkansas and LSU. Claus, you got a couple minutes on the other side?
Okay.
All right. Clausburn with us. We are going to set up that Clausburn v. Dolman.
We will.
Before July, it'll happen. More with Clausburn as we wind down a Friday Average Joe Sports Show.
Dad feels like showing off his culinary skills with fall-off-the-bone, melt-in-your-mouth, slow-smoked delicacies. Other times, he wants to grill up a smorgasbord of tailgate favorites. Whatever Dad's preferred cooking style and skill level, Capital Patio and Flame Shop has the perfect Father's Day gift. Shop now for Weber, Louisiana, MHP, or Big Green Egg, plus all the utensils, seasonings, and accessories to make Dad smile on Father's Day. Get to Capital Patio's annual Father's Day sale going on now at Old Cheney Center in Lincoln.
I'm Governor Jim Pillen.
And I'm John Hilger, Director of the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs.
Nebraska veterans deserve our appreciation and our respect. This year, I'm joining NDVA in honoring our state's living World War II veterans with a special medal celebrating 80 years of victory. If you are a World War II veteran or if you know of someone who is, please reach out so we can recognize their service.
Go to veterans.nebraska.gov/WW2 for more information. Sponsored by the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MAP to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MAP for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MAP for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The basketball playoffs are wrapping up, but the action is still heating up on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. The app is simple to use. Pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code ROAM and get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. That's code ROAM on Prize Picks to get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you get the $50 bonus credit just for playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. You do have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every.
Some people say he doesn't believe in extra points and that he's no longer allowed to enter Canada. All we know is he's imaginary and he wears red. It's the Friday Forecast with Clausburn on the Average Joe Sports Show.
Winding down the Friday edition of the Average Joe Sports Show, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the podcast subscription and download. YouTube, where you can watch, and of course the Average Joe Sports Show Network. Tomorrow, the weekend edition, 7:45-ish. Kranek on assignment on his honeymoon, but we'll have our usual suspects in a little bit after 7:45 tomorrow morning. Sunday live at 10:30. Also on YouTube, where you can watch 7 days a week. Without further ado, we get back into the forecast here with Clausburn. as he is kind enough to join us. And someday we'll get Claus and Doleman staring across from each other at a table here before June is done. We make that pledge. Claus, it is LSU. It is Arkansas. The Hogs beaten this year by LSU in Baton Rouge 2-1 in that series. They meet again Sunday and make that Saturday night, the night session. What say you? And I know you're a big Dave Van Horn guy. Does that give the Hogs the edge? They lead the world in home runs this season.
Well, I am a big fan of David and his work. Of course, without him, we're probably not enjoying spring and summer nights at Haymarket Park. Did a lot of great things here before heading back to his alma mater. And I am a little bit scared that if I were to pick against Arkansas, their fans might follow Nance into the bathroom and yell at her a little bit for it. So with all of that said, LSU has already won the tailgate.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've already built a massive lead in the Jello shot competition.
They have.
And I think all of the mojo will be with the Tigers. Take LSU to win it by about 3 runs.
Okay, so Claus is going with Go Tigers and saying that the Tigers make it happen tonight. And are they your pick for the whole thing, Claus? Do you have a prediction for the CWS, the national champion?
Out of bracket 1, give me Oregon State. Out of bracket 2, give me LSU, but I think their fans probably start to drop off by the time the series starts, because not even Cajuns can drink that much for that long.
Claus, we love you. Look at your calendar for the Frost-Nixon tribute, the Dolman-Clausburn interview. How does that look for either next Friday or the following Friday? We'll be on the road at Hy-Vee to help raise awareness and money for the People's City Mission. So that's where we'll be on the road the 27th. Dolman's in SEC country, so that's that. But check your Fridays moving forward, okay?
Okay.
There he goes. Clausburn, he's imaginary. He wears red. And good to have Claus as he's picked a final between Oregon State and LSU, and he's going with LSU. I'm going to say Arkansas handles it all. Sentimental favorite.
Who's your final?
I'm going to say Arkansas, Oregon State.
Okay. I was on the Arkansas Coastal Carolina train.
Okay.
That's where
I'm pulling for Oregon State for obvious reasons, but I think Dave Van Horn's big time.
I think Dave gets one. I think he finally gets one.
They're loaded for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Justice, thanks for hanging out. We'll check in next week. We'll check in tomorrow, 7:45, YouTube channel with the Average Joe Sports Show, the weekend edition. Find us Sunday at 10:30 as well. Have a great rest of your Friday. Thanks for listening.